What's up, people? How's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are great. I am. This is our first time doing this way, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna give it a few minutes, and we're gonna let the jams play. I know y'all hear the music going. Tell your neighbor, tell a friend, please. If you're watching this, make sure you share this so that somebody who doesn't know we're live now knows we're live. All right. Teamwork lasts ferocious. Initiation was my brother. Life was my blanket. Wrapped in you and fear. Then he appeared out of nowhere. He brought change from nowhere. Changed my mind, reframe my thinking. All right, good people. So listen, my name is Cheston the Green. You probably already know that, but let me just do my proper introduction, okay? So my name is Cheston Green, and welcome to my new show. It's called ID Talks. This isn't a new show. It's just my second season, right? And so this show is a show where we talk about all things purpose, calling, and identity. We meet with or talk with creatives who are believers about purpose, calling, and identity. And this show is called ID Talk. So I'm really excited. Tonight's creative corner is going to be very personal, and it's called Push Through. Okay. So the last few weeks have been very challenging for myself. If I am very honest and transparent, I like to use my life as a vehicle to share or a way to inspire people, encourage people. But I also sometimes like to keep my stuff to myself. So long story short, I went on a vacation for my birthday, and I had all these plans to like hit the ground running, to come out, guns blazing, and things just kind of started not necessarily falling apart, but just life started lifing. And if you know, like I know, life be lifing sometimes. And so one of the challenges that occurred was, losing a loved one, having some financial challenges, not necessarily financial, like I still got money, but like just being able to trying to figure out like what's the best route to handle some things, having to make adult decisions. And it's just been challenging. And so today I really struggled with like pushing through. I have these different goals, I have these different benchmarks, I have different assignments that have to get done, and I'm like, man, I just feel so unmotivated, so almost like stuck. Like I don't really feel like pushing through. Like I just feel like after getting, now I'm not depressed, I've been depressed before. I'm never too proud to say that I'm depressed. I've been exercising. I've been on my grind. I've been, trying to eat right. Keep praying for me. But I've been on my hustle, and so it's not one of those situations. But it really was a challenge where I just was feeling like things aren't coming together. It's not been as smooth as it's supposed to be. And I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and he told me that Satan attacks us in various ways, and he just was encouraging. He wasn't even talking to me like we were just having a conversation about life. It wasn't like a Chester, let me give you a pep talk. But in the middle of us having this conversation, he gave me a pep talk. And so I wanted to encourage you to tell you, push through. I remember Laura Soso, the evangelist, gosh, don't lose Joyce Rogers. She used to say, push, pray until something happens. And so my encouragement to you tonight is just push through. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, God has given us power and has given us the ability to push through it. So keep praying, keep praising, keep going until you get through it. With that being said, y'all, I want to introduce my special guest tonight, okay? LaRay is a singer, songwriter, and recording artist who enjoys engaging audiences through music and expressive dialogue. He strives to create material that can be taken home and reflected on for days. I really like that. In 2018, he released his first album, Black Gold, which is an R&B soul sound inspired by his love for Black culture and his North Carolina roots, hometown. Recently, he released his new EP, Out of Hiding, which is a story about discovering life, after a breakup. And all that he does, his message is simple: peace, love, and joy. So without further ado, everybody welcome Rob LaRay.
Hey, Justin, what's up, bro?
Man, I am well. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. So I'm on the West Coast, so I just literally got off work at 5 o'clock. So let me hop on this live. But I'm so happy to be on this platform. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thank you for coming, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you for pivoting and just kind of working with all of the things.
For sure. Yeah. Listen, life happens. I get it.
Life be lifing. So listen, y'all. I'm just gonna jump right in. So. It is so funny. Let me go back before I jump in. If you're watching this for the first time, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to leave comments. Feel free to share this with somebody. The purpose of this is to help other creatives learn or hear about other people's creative processes and how they maneuver through creativity and just their life experiences. One of the things I have been blessed to do is been able to, as I go through, being a creative and trying to take in a little bit of everything from every place that I go, I always listen to people's life stories and I take what
Mm,
I can to apply it to myself. One of the things I learned from Candy Burris, a singer-songwriter, was to live below your means.
that's
So
good.
one of the things I decided to do was live below my means. And sometimes people question or have comments to like, well, Justin, why do you do this or why do you do that? And I'm like, I live the life that I want to live and I live comfortably and I'm not stressed out.
Absolutely.
I currently don't have a car. My car died, and I've been able to still work, still do what I need to do, and I'm not
Absolutely.
hurting in the midst of that because I live below my means. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
one of those
good.
things that's really paid off for me, thank God. So I just want to tell you, share this with somebody, and hopefully this can inspire somebody. Rob, I like to start off with like icebreakers and stuff, but I also, when I know someone personally or have met someone personally, I like to share how I met them.
All right,
So
Doug,
I
let's
just
do
feel like is
it.
appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So the way I met Rob, y'all, is very, very interesting. My mom would tell you I have not met a stranger. Anybody would tell you Chester never meets a stranger. And so I want to say it was it was last summer. I
Had to
believe it was
be.
last summer.
Yeah.
Yep, last summer. Went to California for my friend Ashley's graduation. It was going to be my second time going to Tabitha Brown's restaurant, and I had surprised my friends and family. Like I didn't tell them we was making reservations, and so we get there, and Rob ends up being our waiter. And so the minute I look at Rob, I'm like, I don't know why, but I know this guy. And I tell my mom, I'm like, I know him. She was
I
like, he
felt the
does look
same way.
familiar. Yeah, and you said it too. So we just kind of like we were nice to each other, but it was just like I know this guy. I don't know why I know him, but I know him. Keep it moving, right? So my brother Malcolm is sitting, not my real brother, but anyway, my brother Malcolm is sitting across from the table from me, and I'm like, Malcolm, how do we know this guy? He was like, why do you think I know him? I was like, you gotta know him. Because see, Malcolm knows everybody. My mom says I know everybody. No, Malcolm knows everybody. I go places and people be like, hey, Cheston. And I'd be like, hi. They'd be like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, I kind of do. And I remember a face, but I don't always
I
remember a name.
For sure.
And so they'll be like, oh, I met you with Malcolm. So I'm like, okay, Malcolm's got to know this guy. So I was like, Malcolm, who is he? He was like, I don't know. So I ended up asking Rob, like, Rob, where are you from? He was like, oh, I'm from New York by way of North Carolina. And we're like, really? We're from North Carolina, me and my mom. We're like, what part? And he says where it is. And my mom says, oh, my boyfriend lives like in that area. And so now I'm actually frustrated and angry because I don't like to not know why I know somebody. Like when I'm really like, I know them.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there like steaming, like I got to figure this out. So we both are like talking about it. And I think like you saw my mom's debit card and it said like State Employees Credit Union or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was like, oh snap, this is North Carolina family.
Yeah. So we kind of have this exchange or whatever, and we're still like trying to figure out. I don't know if you were trying to figure out as hard as I was, but at that point, I was actually like, I gotta figure this out. And so Malcolm says, look on social media. I'm like, let's do it. So I'm like, Rob, how do you say your last name? He tells me his last name. I look it up, and I was connected to Rob because of a girl named Jasmine, who I met. She came to an event. I used to do singles events or whatever. She came to one of those as a vendor. And I think she had posted something on his, and I was blown away by his voice. And I was like, yo, I got to follow this person. Like, as an independent artist, like, I follow other independent artists just to kind of see like
Same.
what they doing and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, and I just felt like ever since then it's been like, oh, this is my boy, this is my brother Rob.
Yeah, for sure,
So,
for sure. That was so cool meeting you all that day. I love meeting people from North Carolina. Like North Carolina is home, and so it was something about we're very hospitable in North Carolina, and so like I got that vibe from the entire table. And again, I didn't know how I knew you all. You look familiar. Maybe your brother looked familiar. Maybe your mom. I don't know, but I was like, these people are family. So, and y'all showed me a good time. Y'all were very nice and pleasant. It was always a joy meeting people from NC.
for sure, man, for sure. Well, listen, we're gonna jump in. We're gonna start with an icebreaker. So this icebreaker, for those who never watched this show, I always use the icebreaker to create a playlist. So there is a playlist that is on both Spotify and on Apple Music. So if you want to be able to hear the music, you can go to my Instagram, Cheston the Green is my handle there. And if you go to the link tree, it has the playlist on both. Like you can choose between the two. But I always ask this question, and this song gets put on the playlist. So the question for you is, what is a song that you listen to get your creative juices flowing or encourages you to keep going when you're feeling frustrated?
That's a good question. I think I would say that it probably varies. It depends on what I'm listening to in that season of life and what's giving me any type of motivation. Right now, it's this song called Ocean by Neil Rose, also an independent artist. And it's kind of like lo-fi, it's chill. And like that's what's motivating me in this season.
Okay, Neo is spelled like Neyo.
Nelle.
Oh, okay.
Rose, Rose.
Got it. So I'm gonna go look up Ocean and add it to the playlist. So guys, now I don't always put it up immediately, but I'm gonna get it up there. All right. So listen, we're gonna play a game. Tonight's game is called Perfect Soundtrack. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna list out different scenarios, and I want you, to the best of your ability, within 5 seconds, to say the first song that you can think of that would be appropriate for you with that song.
Okay, one more time. Instructions.
I'm going to give you 5 seconds to name a song that applies to the scenario for you personally.
Okay.
And you have 5 seconds to do it.
All right. Any song?
Any song.
Gosh, I feel like I'm about to be put on the spot. All right, let's do it.
Okay. So the first one is When You Wake Up in a Funk. 5 seconds.
It's about Lizzo. It's about damn time.
Okay. All right. The second one, When I'm About to Go Out for the Night with My Crew.
Jeez. I don't know anything. Anderson .Paak.
Okay. Ooh, that's a good selection. Because that's a vibe.
Sure.
Okay. Here's a more like professional probably scenario. What is a song you listen to prepare yourself to sing?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably anything Molly music.
Okay. I like that. When I need to get over a heartbreak.
Oh Lord. Sorry. Out of Hiding EP streaming everywhere right now.
Let's go. Because we're gonna talk about that in a second. Okay. When I want to turn up.
Help. Lord help me. Justin, this is hard. Gosh, I might have sound so lame. Bro, I don't know. I don't know.
We're gonna give you a for not an A for effort because you did great. So we'll give you a B. You got out of the 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong thing.
Drop it. Actually, no. Drop it.
Drop it. Okay. Okay.
Also
drop
on the Out of Hiding EP.
So since we're talking about drop it, y'all, first of all, I did not realize that you had an album before Out of Hiding. So I actually just started playing it before we started this. I was like, oh well, let me take a listen to it. And so I enjoyed it. I didn't get that far because I literally found it like five, no, maybe 15 minutes before.
Yeah.
But my favorite song on the Out of Hiding, well, wait, before we go there. When I saw Out of Hiding, when I saw you post about it, I'm like, this is probably going to be like a worship thing, right? It looked very like
Sorry.
heavenly, very like, the what a monochromatic vibe. It looked very like, you know, we're like gonna praise God. It's gonna be like a not quite what's the people? Maverick City, not quite Maverick
Yeah.
City, more like Kane kind of just from the cover, right?
Sure.
And then it said Out of Hiding. So my first thought is, come out of hiding, you're safe here with
I
me.
love that song. Yeah.
So when I played the album, I was like, this ain't none of this.
You know what? It's crazy. It's crazy because I imagine before that point, you hadn't heard any of my music. And us just meeting and passing, having the church in common, you probably just naturally assumed that, oh, this is a worship leader. And you're not wrong. I am a worship leader. But the music that LaRay makes is not worship. But if you are a believer, then you're definitely going to get inspired. And if you know the word, you're going to hear some scripture in between the lyrics too.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think for me, that is something that I find inspiring. So I believe that God has called every creative, He's giving us all gifts. The Bible tells us He's given us gifts without repentance, which means like, people who don't even serve God have these gifts from God.
Absolutely.
I think also, we have callings and ministries to do that do belong in the church. However, we have marketplace ministries that can be outside of the church that can appeal to people in different ways.
Yeah.
And when I heard Out of Hiding, I was able to enjoy it from a life perspective. Sometimes we have a hard time realizing that the poetry section of the Bible, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, all of them are not vertical relationship. Some of them are horizontal.
Absolutely.
And so I really appreciate the EP, especially Drop It. And I've gotten better. Now that I'm in a relationship, I've had to tone it down a little bit, is what they keep telling me. I was a very huge fan of Kiara Sheard. I remember where I was when she got engaged.
Same.
And I was sad. And my friends started texting me. I was at my dad's house and he lived in the country and I had no service. But I started getting all these random, I had like 25 text messages out of nowhere. And I'm like, who could be texting me? Y'all know I'm in the country. Y'all know I have no service. Then I started getting Instagram posts and all kinds of people tagging me. When I finally got out of the country, I started getting more notifications. And I'm like, this is overwhelming. What is going on?
Bro, that's
one
crazy.
Of my friends
I remember. Finish.
Now, so one of my friends comments like, are you okay? And I was like, why would I not be okay? I was just in the country. She was like, Kiara Sheard got engaged. I was like, dang on it.
Bro, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember seeing it because like my friend just put it in the chat that I love Kiara too. I had a crazy crush on her. I met her twice, hung out with her at a church in Brooklyn. And bro, I think all the church boys was hurt that day.
Yeah, it was a sad day.
I'm a huge fan of Kiara though. Huge fan.
For sure. And I love her, especially this last album. It's very beautiful how she, like, I feel like listening to it, you hear all the growth. You hear like spiritual growth, you hear like maturity in just her like voice, but also even in her writing, like what's the song she did with Molly Music? What Matters?
Love
like
that. Probably one of my
you favorites. Can tell it's like a song like between her and her husband to God. Like I loved all of it. So
yeah. But what was your initial reaction to Drop It? I think that's what you were saying.
I was not expecting. I think I DM'd you and was like, I wasn't expecting none of this. Like I was at first, and it was like I kept waiting for like more of you singing. And the funny part was as I was listening, I'm like, oh, this is actually rapping. Like I was waiting for something else, like wanting more, like, and then when I got towards the end, I was like, oh dang, and it's only a minute and some change. Like I got a hook. Like it caught me. So I thought it was amazing. I thought it was brilliantly written. one of my favorite parts of it is you keep saying like, well, first it's like these references, right? So you make a reference to Tabitha Brown, like if she can cook like Aunt Tab, um, which to me says like you honor and appreciate the women around you and like take from
For sure.
those experiences, right? And those are things you value and look for in a wife or potential mate. And then I think one part you do reference like you gotta know God like Kiera Kelly, and
Yeah.
I was like, I like the way he slid that in there because that's important too. And
Yeah, for sure.
as men who are creatives, I think we value, especially as men who are creatives and Christian, we value a woman having a relationship with God just as much as like somebody who is not a creative. I think sometimes people think like because we know God and we do this Christian thing and we sing,
For
that means
sure.
like we are like up there with the preachers, right? Which I guess in certain instances, like we do have that spiritual inclination, but we still want somebody that's like understands. I don't want to be somewhere and like you don't get why I'm quiet or like you don't understand what
Mm,
I'm
that's good.
sensing spiritually. So I just felt like listening to it. Um I was listening to okay, this is gonna get real deep. Let me think how not to make it too deep. So Proverbs is a letter from a mother to her son.
Hmm.
So Proverbs 31 is the mother writing to the son, telling the son, this is the kind of woman you're looking for.
Mm,
So when I'm hearing drop it, I'm hearing the son's almost like answer to Proverbs 31.
absolutely. Yeah, it's
So
almost like a response to, like you said,
mhm,
Proverbs 31. And what I love about Proverbs 31 is that I want to say in Proverbs 32 is also the male version of like some of the qualifications he's looking for in a godly woman. But for me on Drop It, I really wanted to be specific because if we're being honest with ourselves, we all have preferences. And
mhm.
so in the track, I said, "Give me dark brown with the hair nappy." And I love that I said that because, like you said to your point earlier, I was raised by so many women. And all of the women that are my mom, my grandma, my aunts, older cousins, all of those women, excuse me, are dark brown, natural hair. And that's what I enjoy. That's what I love. Throw down in the kitchen like Aunt Tab. If you're raised in the South and I'm up for grabs, it's my preference. It's not a
Mhm.
deal breaker, but those are the things I like. And you gotta love the Lord like Kiara Kelly, because one thing about me, you're gonna get Jesus, and every now and then you might get some ratchet.
For sure. For sure, man. So listen, I want to jump into more of the creative side of you. So I have some questions about well, if you don't know, this show is about identity. So I released the EP in February called Identity. And
Great
so
project. The artwork was amazing. The music was good. Super proud of
thanks,
you.
bro. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. The irony in it is it's very, very funny because I'm a deep thinker sometimes to the point of drowning. And I try not to be. And I actually did not pick that cover. Actually, all of social media did. I
Oh
posted that
wow,
picture. That was a picture. My dad is a photographer. He does it on the side. And that was a picture he took of me when I was like four or five. And
bro, that was
my
fire.
friends were like, I posted it one day and they was like, you dropping a rap album? Like you dropping a mixtape? Like, is this the art cover? Anytime I would post it, I posted like 4 or 5 times, like in like maybe a 3-year span, just random like throwback Thursday or put it in my story or like something, some kind of homage to like when times were easier. Cause originally where it
Mm,
says identity, it says easy. And
sure.
so I would, post it and people would be like, are you using that? Like, what are you doing? Like, stop posting it. Use it for your artwork. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay. So I was really glad that I did because it really, I feel like drove home the point of identity. Because when you hear the EP, you hear the storytelling and you hear some of that journey. So thank you for
absolutely.
such kind words.
Yeah, no
Um,
doubt.
and I think it's going to be. I'm excited to see where it goes. But so if you haven't heard it already, go check it out. It's on all streaming platforms, as I've been telling everybody. And I'm saying this for Rob's project too. Purchase then stream.
There we go. There we
Purchase
go.
then stream.
You get it, bro. You get it.
Listen, because I didn't spit. Like, we're not gonna go down that street. Okay, so first question about identity is: what does identity mean to you?
That's good. I think identity means to me showing up your most authentic self, And I know that we've been hearing that quite a bit, at least over the last few years, showing up as my complete, authentic self. And I feel like as believers, and not to be too spiritual, but yeah, showing up as my true authentic self, but also showing up as the man that God calls me to be as well. And a part of me, like I was very slow to say that because it sounds so religious, but it's actually true. That's how I see identity.
No, that's real, man. And I think that's something we have to keep saying and reiterating, because there are so many imposters. People are suffering from imposter syndrome. There's so many people who are living a facade. There are people. I remember being a kid who reading a poem or something, and having this understanding of mask and how we interact with people and wear a mask. And so I
Absolutely.
think that there's so many people who are masking pain, masking trauma, masking all these things. And I try to make it my business to live my most authentic life unapologetically.
Yeah,
And I try to and always be an image bearer of Jesus Christ.
for
And
sure. I
I
agree.
think those things all go with identity, and you can't ever stop saying it,
You
because
can't
there's so
separate the
many
two.
things. Yeah. And there's so many things that are competing with it. There's so many things trying to
Yeah,
tell you not to be who you really are, not to show up as your most authentic self, as you said.
absolutely.
So I think that's a great response. Let me ask this question: when do you feel like you first discovered your purpose?
Ooh, great question. Ooh, that's good. So I'm gonna go back to children's choir. I was at Maury Chapel Free Will Baptist Church in Maury, North Carolina, and I was singing in the children's choir. So I was like a little kid, and I really enjoyed singing that choir. And so my cousin would pick me up maybe like one Saturday out of the month, and we would go to these rehearsals. And I was a little kid at the time, so I was probably singing soprano. I was singing soprano, and I desperately wanted to sing back there with the tenors, but I did not have. I hadn't hit puberty yet, so I was singing soprano, and I loved it. And so the Christmas program came, and they gave me a solo, "Go Tell It on the Mountain." And my sister's in the chat, and she was actually an angel that same night. And so we were at the Tabernacle Church in Kinston, and I had my very first solo, and I sung the solo, and the audience, the congregation, they just started cheering for me. And it was at that moment that I didn't know if it was my purpose or not, but I knew I really enjoyed performing and I really enjoyed singing. Fast forward a few years, just doing plays and doing talent shows throughout the years. Through every performance, I had a better idea that this is what I'm supposed to be doing and this is my purpose.
Got you. So it's funny. The more we talk, the more I feel like we are kindred spirits because I too had to sing in a section that I didn't want to sing in. I sang in the alto section up until high school, and I was like, I do not want to sing over here with all these women. And my cousin was like, You're not singing with the guys who sing in tenor because your voice isn't there. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can sing it. And I would try. She'd be like, You're struggling. Go back over there. And then eventually she was like, You can stand beside them. But the minute I hear you singing tenor and I know that you're gonna say, I hear it, I'm gonna hear your voice, I'm gonna make you sit beside your aunt. So I
Right.
remember one rehearsal, I got ready to drop down to do tenor because I really liked the tenor part. She
Yeah.
was like, Are you gonna drop down? I was like, No. I was like, okay, don't do it. So no, that's crazy. But I think it also probably trained you to, like, which is going to the next question. It trained you to really hone in on your gifts and your ability to
Mm.
have all your range, not just trying to get to one part, or kind of be more accepted, or in a more welcoming place, but to actually be able to stand out and be who you really are called to be.
A call to be. I agree, and I think I would not have known one that this was my purpose if I did not have people along the way that affirmed that. So Miss Gloria Addis was my youth choir director, and if nobody else did not affirm me, she did. She always gave me solos, and I've always appreciated that. And my family has also been very supportive. But having those people that can see the purpose in you before you even see it was definitely helpful along the way.
For sure. So let's talk about that training. Like, how were you trained? Was it just church? Did you like learn in school? Like, let's talk about, and I know a little bit of the answer, but let's talk about from like the children's choir up into like professionally. your training and everything that you learned?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. So definitely the church. Started off singing in the church. When I started, I did not stop. I still sing in the church today. For most of my life, I've always been a part of a choir, either a praise team, and that has been my primary training. Now, I went to college, and the goal was to major in music, a vocal performance, and this was undergrad. I did not do that out of fear, and as you mentioned earlier, imposter syndrome. And so I changed my major to musical theater. And I was a music theater major until for 2 years, until my sophomore year. And then this is so funny. I went to a predominantly white institution. And so ballet was required to be a music theater major. And so I walked into the studio, and this may be 20 white females and me. And I said, y'all are not about to Emmett Till me. I'm out of here. Respectfully, sorry. And so in that moment, I changed my major to psychology, and that's what I got my bachelor's degree in. I went on to get my master's in clinical social work, and still while pursuing music. And I was a therapist for about 5 years until I decided to take a break in 2018 to really pursue music. And so I moved to New York City, and that's where I was starting as an independent artist. Dropped that album in North Carolina in 2018. Like literally the next day, moved to New York City, and just out there working as a struggling artist, performing in the subways, also worshiping at church, booking some gigs here and there, and that was my training. And then it wasn't until the pandemic 2020 that a friend randomly sent me this flyer to a music college out in Burbank, California, and they were looking for Black singers and songwriters. And so I applied, and I got a complete scholarship, and that was the vehicle that got me here to LA. In just November of last year, I graduated from that program with a concentration in vocal performance.
Wow. Wow. If you can't, if I don't know nothing else, I know that God orchestrates every step that we make.
Amen.
Like literally. My mom is controlling the StreamYard, so I know she's on the other side of this, either crying or grinning from ear to ear, because I study psychology. I was going to get my master's in social work. I was overwhelmed, and I really wanted to study music. I didn't, because I was like, I was back and forth, but I never stopped doing music. I promise you, we're
so much in common, right?
It's so much in common. And by the way, September I'm supposed to be in Cali, so I will let you know in advance, so we can definitely link
up. I'll be here.
Now you make me want to jump ship, but I'm trying to figure out, because I have questions. I always have them in order, but I'm gonna go to this question. I'm gonna go to this one.
Yeah.
Why R&B versus gospel?
That's a really good question, Cheston. So here's the thing. I told y'all, raised in the church, I've only ever sang, for the most part, gospel until around 2016. And I was very convinced that I was going to be a gospel artist. I remember having conversations in like middle school. There was this other kid that could sing, and he was doing like R&B at the time. It's just like, you should do this. I was like, super religious. I was like, nah, I'm gonna sing gospel. I love the Lord. Super religious. It's kind of embarrassing. So I was really dedicated until around 2016, and I really was praying, and I really it was in that moment, 2016, God let me know that my ministry is specifically for the people outside of the four walls of the church, that I am called to go beyond Sunday morning service, and I am called to create music that I call take home music, because it is intentionally catchy. It's something that people can sing along to. What I love about it is that, like we said earlier, these lyrics are prayed over. The music is prayed over. The message is prayed over, and it's all downloaded to me from the Holy Spirit. And so the thing is, a mother in the church ain't gonna listen to drop it, unfortunately.
Right.
The deacons ain't gonna listen to drop it, but somebody outside of the church is gonna listen to drop it, and that might be the message that they need on that day, to see that duality does exist, that you can be a Christian, but you can also have fun, and you can also make music that makes you feel good. And so I got this revelation in 2016, and that's when I started working on my first album, Black Gold. And I love making that album so much because I knew that it reached well here's the thing, it reached beyond the church, and that's what the goal has always been. And I'm not going to get too preachy, but oftentimes I kind of get frustrated when we make other believers our target population. Those people are already saved, they know the Lord. What about the people in the world?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You talk about language, like just flat out. I think the other piece we have to be reminded of is that the Bible tells us, and I'm not going to even try to quote the scripture because I'll jack it up, but it gives us this imagery of being, I know what it says. It says, be harmless as doves, but wise as serpents.
Yeah.
Today I was walking on a trail and I saw a snake, and the irony is I almost didn't see it. I was so close to it. It was a baby. I was so close to it, I almost stepped on it.
Yeah.
And as you said that earlier today, I wasn't even thinking it was like God was going to bring it back to my memory. I just literally was like, I have a real bad fear of him. So I was like, whoop, turned around. I was like, going another direction, right?
Yeah.
But it full circle now, it's a thing where like it was camouflaged so well that it startled me only a little bit, not enough for me to have a full out panic, and not enough that I felt like I was in danger, but enough to get my attention.
Sure.
And I think that that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be subtle enough that we can get someone's attention and to shake them up a little bit, but still harmless, like still soft, still gentle. And
Absolutely.
I definitely believe that when I hear your music, because I'm in church, I know I'm listening to a believer because of whether it's some of the like small words that you use. It's like, oh yeah, that's a phrase we would say in church, or something that's very like unassuming, right? But it's something still that's powerful and impactful. And for those who maybe used to go to church, they're gonna be like, oh, I used to hear my grandmother say that. I used to hear my grandfather say that. My uncle said that. He used to hear Deacon Johnny say that. Little stuff like that, which could be the thing that bring them back. And so I commend you. I think it's brilliant.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's nothing that I came up with on my own. Is really what I feel like God is calling me to do. Like when we're talking about purpose, yeah, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, but the purpose is to really make people feel better, and then to ultimately get to a place where they want to know Jesus if they don't. But here's the thing. I think oftentimes a lot of us put a lot of weight on, and don't shoot me. If y'all go to the church in comments, don't shoot me. I feel like we put a lot of weight on my sole purpose has to be salvation for other people. And I feel like that is a lot of pressure to put on yourself for two reasons. One, can't nobody give salvation but Christ himself. Two, I feel like if we are more intentional about planting seeds, and this is scripture, then somebody else like Cheston can come along and water, and then somebody else can come along and make the harvest. And so with every song that I'm writing and I'm creating, the end goal is not always salvation, but it's really to make you feel good. And that feeling, I believe, would then turn you to Christ.
Yo, I totally agree. And I just know that you are walking in purpose, calling, and your identity. No pun intended.
Yeah.
No pun intended, man. I'll say this and then we can move on to the next question. I truly believe, going back to the point about the poetic books of the Bible, though some of those books do point back to Jesus, right? So there are a lot of psalms that are what you call messianic psalms, or there's another word, I can't think of what it is, but they are psalms that point us to Christ. It is there is a psalm that says that he will have a crown of thorns like on his head, and he will be it doesn't say crucified, but something like that, like slaughtered, right?
Yeah.
So that's a reference in the Old Testament to the New Testament fulfillment of the covenant. Gosh, I don't know how we got to such deep theology today. But there are other parts where Song of Solomon, for years, if you real deep and you can't handle this, you might want to turn it off and turn it back on a little later. But in Song of Solomon, he's talking about having sex with his wife.
He absolutely
He's talking about laying it low and spreading it wide.
And it's
giving
beautiful.
all he got. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And God thought it important enough
to put it in there.
In the book.
Yeah.
It is a book out of the 66. It is one. And so I
Absolutely.
think we have to acknowledge that even in Ecclesiastes is one of those books that's kind of very sobering. Like it ain't real happy. Like if you read it, it's a time to die, it's a time to live. It's all these different times. It's a season for this, it's a season for that. Your life ain't
Absolutely.
but a vapor. Is it Shakir? I hope I'm not butchering your name. But you've been
That's my
cracking me up,
best
and I'm trying
friend.
not to laugh at you. Okay, I'm trying not to laugh at you, but you've been cracking me up this whole time. So it's all these different parallels and all these different images of like you don't have a whole lot of time, right? But that stuff, it don't none of that say like Jesus is the way. It's trying to put it in perspective in the big picture.
That's
And so we
good.
need to remember that there is something for all of us to do, and
That's
that
it. That's it.
even in that, like on Drop It, you say something, and I was trying to memorize it in my head, but you said she gonna make me put a baby in her or something like that, and I'm like,
And a belly.
that is in her belly, and that's him
Mhm.
saying like, I'm looking the way I interpreted it. I'm looking for a woman who has all these qualities that at the end of the day, I want to marry her and I want to impregnate her and I want to create a legacy with her because
Preach.
that's God's way.
That's
So
it. That's it.
yeah, and yeah, we are saved. um, I'm gonna take a pause for a second, and I want you to tell me what like what scripture is laying low and spreading wide. I don't have the exact reference, but
You just go
if
read
you
Song of Solomon.
yeah in your time is, and my warning is to read it if read it with open ears and an open heart and open mind if you are prepared to be able to do the things in which they are talking about in the passage, because
Absolutely.
it might awaken some things. As a matter of fact, in Song of Solomon it says do not awaken love before it's time, which is a whole thing that God like dealt with me about a long time ago. Like, that's never mind. We're not going in this street.
Preach.
So I want to take a pause and talk about your projects and any other things that you have out there that people can buy, that people could tune into. Like if you
Yeah.
got shows coming up, let's talk about some of that stuff real quick.
Absolutely. So I'll first start with the music. Black Gold was my first album. It's literally my baby. I'm so proud of that project. Released that in 2018. So you can definitely go stream that, purchase that on all platforms. And for a season, I was also the artist in residence of Student Dream. It's a nonprofit based in Brooklyn. And so I wrote and recorded the music for that organization. And so we have an album out, 600 Miles to Freedom, creative director, as well as the #1 writer on that album. So you can go listen to that. We also released some singles, Sis I See You, Light King, Ain't a Dream. All of those are available. Just search Rob LaRay and you'll get those projects as well. And then Out of Hiding is the newly released EP that's also available on all digital platforms. And we... something like I'm working on a full project and I'm really excited about it. And so stay tuned. There's going to be a big announcement for August for people that's in LA, and then also for October for people that are in North Carolina. So more to come.
So we're gonna have to exchange numbers offline so we can talk, because we might be able to do some type of collaboration. I would like to do something again in North Carolina before the year is out, because I had my first show in North Carolina that did really well, and I know that my management team is working on doing some things. So maybe we can find a way to like collaborate, or I don't know. I'm
For
always trying to
sure.
figure out how like to put people on. And I really wish I was gonna be there in August. I'm not coming into September because I'd be like, man, I'm coming to the show. Man, that is awesome. Do you have merch? Like, do they have other things besides music they can purchase from you?
I currently only have merch that's available on me. It's not available on any type of website yet, but definitely a lot of merch is coming in August for this big announcement that I'll have. But in the meantime, you can go to roblaray.com, and everything about me, my upcoming shows, is on the website.
Okay, that is so dope. So let's talk about your shows for a second too. So I'm telling y'all, I'm one of those people, and I've always been this way. If I see that you're doing something awesome or amazing, whether I'm like your personal friend, like we talk every day, or I'm a friend from a distance, or I'm like up here in the music industry, I legit will be like in your comments, like, let's go, let's go. So when I saw that you were opening up for Tabitha Brown's book tour for
Yeah.
some of the dates or something, I was like, oh my God, let's go, let's go. How
Yeah,
was
that was
that, man?
big.
How was it to be able to do that?
That was amazing. And so you all, as I just mentioned, I moved to LA for school. And so I didn't really get a lot of chances to perform while I was in school because I really wanted to be focused. And so Tabitha is amazing. We connected via Instagram, which is crazy that with 4 million followers, she saw my little DM. And that's how I got the job at the restaurant. And we've been connected ever since. And so she actually gave me the opportunity to have my very first LA show at Kill My Name, the restaurant. And so I sold out my very first show in LA there at the restaurant. And that was great. And then after that, we decided to start doing open mics. And so I was doing some open mics at the restaurant that I organized and was the host of. And that was a really great and fun time. And so even after my time at Kill My Name had ended, Tabitha, being the amazing woman she is, still wanted to pour into my life. And so as a fellow North Carolinian, how do I say this? North Carolinian. Yes, as a fellow North Carolinian, but also just as a nice, wonderful person and as a fan of my music. And so she asked me if I would open for a portion of the tour, the LA stop of the tour. And it was amazing. It was fun. She has a big following and her audience are like our type of people. And so like they were super cool, warm, receptive, and we really had a great time.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Listen, keep grinding, keep doing your thing. Let's get back into these questions because my time is starting to dwindle away. So my next question for you is, well, you actually answered the first part of this question. My question was like, what made you move to New York and then to Cali? But you kind of told us that. What was the best part about the transition? Both, and you can break it down however you need to. If it's like one thing for both transitions, or if it's one thing for moving to New York and then one moving for Cali.
Yeah.
But
Good.
what's the best part of? What was the best part about that transition?
Great question. I thought you were about to ask what was the most difficult part. And I was just like,
Oh, we're getting there. That's next.
I think the best part is always the anticipation of something new. Going to New York City, I had always loved the city. My sister and I, our dad is from Connecticut. And so I was born in Connecticut, and we go visit our family often there. And then on our way to Connecticut, we go through New York. And I always enjoyed that city. And so when the Holy Spirit let me know that I was moving there, I was super excited, just anticipating I was going to have this new album. I'm going to go do some shows, make friends, and all of those things happen. And so the same with LA, the anticipation of a new environment, meeting new friends, making connections, doing more shows. That's always most exciting for me. So yeah, the anticipation.
So what was the most challenging part of all of that?
The most challenging part for New York was definitely leaving my full-time job as a clinical counselor. At the time, I was at East Carolina University, because that's stable income. And although I had anticipation about what being an artist would be like in New York City, it was hard. It was a struggle. I was indeed a struggling artist. And so doing the very thing that I love, but also there were moments where like I did not have money. And that's just kind of what it was. Excuse me. And as far as LA, honestly, LA came with a little less challenges, which I'm grateful for. But I think the most challenging part about moving to LA was that it took me a while to build community. And I think community is so important. And that's always like one of my priorities when I move to a new city is find a church, find community. And so I need like my church community, but also need a music community. And it just took a while for that to build. But being here about a year and a half at this point, I finally have a solid community and I'm grateful for it.
Dope. It's funny. I have some people who are there. I have one person in particular that I don't even know why I didn't think about this before to get, and I don't know how close that you guys live, but I'm going to get her connected to you. Cause I feel like she's from LA, but there's been transitions and like trying to like reestablish and all those kind of things. And I'm like, you need the right kind of community. She's like, I'm coming back to the East Coast, best friend. I'm like, no, you can't. You gotta stay where you're at.
It's so important. It'll be the thing that will keep you in the city or have you move back home.
For sure. Like I think that's literally a make or break for people.
Yeah.
Having the right type of community around you, people to say like, you can do this, you can make it. I know for myself, there was a time where when I moved to Maryland, I was like literally like, oh yeah, I'm done. called my dad and was like, "Yep, I'm moving home. Come on, send that truck that you said you was gonna send." And he was like, "Oh, okay. I got one question for you." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Who told you to move?" I'm like, "What? Like, why
That's
are you
good.
asking me questions? I'm in tears.
That's
Like, what are you
good.
talking
That's
about?"
good.
He was like, "Who told you to move?" I said, "God told me to move." He said, "Well, go talk to him, and if he tell you you can move back, I'll send the truck." I was so mad with my daddy, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
good.
"Who are you to
If
say
he
this to me?"
listen, if he will send you, he will provide for you.
Hmm. And he's done just that.
For
So,
both of us. For
yeah,
both of
man,
us.
for sure. Um, what is this? This is the last. Um, no, this isn't a last question, but this is another question. What's one challenge that you had to overcome to become who you are now?
Jesus. That's such a deep question. Um, let me okay, I got it actually. I think it goes back to your very first question about identity. I really had to accept who I was as a person, but also as a musician. Growing up in the church, and I feel like you might can relate to this. Unless, and we spoke about Kiara Shear. Unless you are like Kiara and her mama, doing all these crazy runs and backflips and somersaults and all these things, there could be a moment where you question if this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, are my gifts good enough to be here in church? Because unfortunately, it has become, and I say this respectfully, so performative that I once did not know if it was the space for me or if I was accepted in the church community, which also probably led to in 2016 when I got the revelation that my ministry is for outside of the church. But once I realized that my identity. Like, I am called, I am purposed to be a singer songwriter, someone who brings light to the world wherever
Hmm.
I go, wherever I'm singing, whether it's if I'm leaving worship on Sundays, which I do, or if I am singing in a club on Saturdays, which I also do. Like, that's what I'm called to do, and to do it well and to do it in excellence. When I accepted that, that was a game changer for me. And I respectfully just saw my career soaring from that point.
Hmm. 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 Man, that's so powerful. That's so powerful because I believe that someone who's watching this can be free from the acrobats of church performance,
Hmm.
because every church singer is not a Smokey Norfolk, is not a Bishop Jason Nelson.
No,
Every church singer is not a Kier Sheard. Every church singer is not a Karen, not even a Dorinda. Um,
not a
there
Jacqueline
are
Carr, not a Leandria Johnson.
right.
We're not. And here's the thing: those types of singers are amazing. I listen to them
Hmm.
daily. They bless my spirit.
Yeah.
Um, but they're not the only ones that can bless spirits.
Hmm. And here's the real caveat for me. I enjoy I enjoy the Karens and the Dorindas just as much as I enjoy the Jackies.
I love a good Jackie. Come on,
The Michelle Williams,
dude. Yeah,
the unique voices. The one of my favorite. Let me tell you somebody who was a legit. What's the word I want to use for her? Secret weapon for the music industry. I'm not going to limit it to gospel. It's
yeah.
Deborah Killings.
Help
Deborah
me, bro.
Killings, she used to sing background for Fred Hammond. She had one album that came out, but she literally was the reference singer for just about every R&B hit song we've heard from the 90s.
I believe it.
She legit sang references for Tony Braxton, for TLC, like anything that came from Babyface, she probably sang it first.
Yeah.
And so you have people like her who have this very unique tone and sound. She almost has a sound like Candy Burris. It has a bit of a like gritty, like thick, like
Raspy.
earthy sound, raspy sound.
Hmm.
And I love her. It kind of reminds me of Lisa McClendon a little bit, but not
I love
maybe
Lisa.
as clean or like she just got this grit about her. And
Yeah.
so I feel like we need all those voices. We need all of the
Yeah.
voices to show us that like we can do more than just. I don't have to holler. I don't have to scream every time I sing.
Yeah. But am I effective in delivering the message? Um, and am I skilled in it? Now I do two things I'll say. We can go to your next question. I do think that whatever we do, it should be done in excellence. I do believe that, and I think sometimes in church there was this debate about people that do all these runs. Oh, it's just for show. They're not anointed. I don't agree with that. They are super
Right.
anointed, and I think they should keep doing what they're skilled at. Don't you stop running. That's what you are
Mm-mm.
skilled at doing. But for this person that sings straight and has a little bit more of a belting voice, don't you feel intimidated and feel like you got to do that? No,
Yeah.
do what you have been gifted and talented and gifted to do, and what you're skilled at. Like it doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
this competition. Like we're all here for the same reason, and so let's lift up
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep. I'll say this and then we can go to the next question. I recently sang at my uncle's funeral. And before I got there, we're driving to the funeral. And I'm talking to my mom and my aunt. And I say, I know I don't have to say this, but I'm saying this out loud for myself so I can get it right in my mind because it was like one of the most challenging moments of ministry I ever had in my life. And I said, I don't have to sing up high to move the people. I can start low. And my aunt
Amen.
says, of course you can. You don't have to do all that stuff. Because the truth of the matter is, my voice is very baritone tenor. I legit have a voice that is for jazz and for soul music. It
Yeah.
ain't for necessarily like what we like to say is the most popular stuff in gospel. Is I don't do all them Dietrich Haddon runs. I just can't. I don't feel
No.
like it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Bishop William Murphy sings so doggone high. Why do you have to sing that high for it's working? We know it
because
works.
because he's
Why?
graced for it. He's graced for it. That's
Well,
why.
he's
And
braced for it.
and he's skilled in it. So do it. That's
Yeah.
fine. But don't you
But me, I can
don't
just
no.
coast on through that low part and let it ride. And I have those moments of like, as I've matured and grown, I've learned to growl. I've learned to like do different things with my voice. I've learned to hear what's happening with the organ. And if depending on who the musician is, you kind of can work together so that it's an accompaniment so that you can like do things that sound really nice and move people. But for me, I'm an ad libber, so I can ad lib from here to next Sunday. I know my strength, and so I think that is very awesome that you said that because I really believe that somebody's watching. It's gonna be like, oh, my voice still has a place in the kingdom. It still has a
It
place
absolutely
in
does.
church.
It absolutely does.
Well, man, I'm gonna get to this last question, and this is the question that I ask everybody. Um, it's like the same question I ask everybody. And that question is, what is one time that you had to put the purpose before you as the person?
Ask it one more time. I think I got the answer, but let me be clear.
Okay. What is one time you had to put the purpose before your person?
hmm Before me as a person.
Hmm.
Um, every time that I've been called to be a worship leader.
Mm.
Because it's not necessarily my I have more of a desire to just to do artist work and to show up as Rob LaRay, to show up as a worship leader. And it probably is based on some of the experiences I've had at church, but it feels a little bit more weighty. It feels like it's definitely more responsibility with that. But every time that I've been asked to, I know that I've also been called to. And so I accept those, even though my flesh does not want to do it. But I do it because I know that's what I'm purposed to do. And then, once I'm there, obviously there's clear confirmation that this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm filled by it. The church is filled by it. And it's great and it's beautiful. But to be honest, like when I get those assignments, I'm not always jumping for joy.
That's real. And I'm glad you said it because I identify with that. I've been in those places where it's like, all right, you told me to do this, God. Let's go out here and do it. And I'm going to be obedient because you've been faithful to me. I want to be faithful to you. And there are times that I'm like, I don't feel like it, because it also comes with stuff like expectations of, let's just talk the business side. It's expectations of the pastor. So he expects, or she expects, you to show up to look a certain way, to perform a certain way. If the church doesn't move the way they are expecting it to in that moment, it then becomes sometimes your fault. And it's like, they ain't been in God's presence all week. So you mad at me because they ain't been in God's presence? I don't work
Sure.
magic. I just worship the Lord, and His presence comes. But if they don't respond, all of those things could be a part of the responsibility of the business side of being a worship leader.
Yeah.
And then also on the spiritual side, there is so much weight and sensitivity that goes into worship leading that I don't think people often. I think it's one of those glorified positions in church until you actually do it, and then you realize,
Sure.
like, oh, so not only do you have to come prayed up with a word in your heart and know all the songs and all the lyrics and be able to hear where God wants you to go and be able to tell the band and the singers and the church, but you also have to be sensitive enough to read the room, because somebody is going through losing somebody. Somebody is going through a cancer scare. Somebody is going through being evicted. And I have to minister in a way that ministers to everyone at the same time. And then I have to go home with all this weight on me because I actually just sung to all these people.
Yeah.
And I now feel some of the responsibility that they were having when they got here.
Sure.
So I definitely.
It's a lot. It's a big mantle. But one thing, one of my other best friends said, Sean, he said that God knows how to deal with us, and He knows us personally. And so I believe that to be true. And every time that He asked this of me, He already know what my response is going to be, because I told Him, I was just like, if there's ever a need, I got you, Lord. I'm there because one, I want to assist the kingdom of God whenever it's possible, right? But also, I want to be in your will. So if you ask me, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there, even if I don't feel like it. I'm gonna be there
every time. And it's funny because I think sometimes people don't realize how easy it is it would be easier for us to just say no sometimes. Like, oh, I could say no and just not have to do all this extra stuff, like sacrifice more of my time and consecration, and like, giving more of this energy to others, because this is time that you could be spending building LaRay.
Sure.
But come Sunday morning, they need the worship leader, and God is calling you, which is an invitation. Something I was studying with my cousins yesterday in our Bible study. It's an invitation to do what He's asked you to do. So,
Amen.
Man, hats off to you. Like, I totally get it. Rob, total last question. If there was anything you want creatives to walk away with tonight, if there was any message, if there was any like nugget, any like lesson maybe from your life, whatever your closing statement would be, what would be the last remark that you would want the people to walk away with after watching this interview?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if we talked about this tonight. I think what I would say to the listeners, I'm also speaking to myself. Take the pressures off of creating just to create. Hear me out. Take the pressure off of creating just to create. Instead, create when something speaks to you in that moment, whatever the moment is. I think sometimes my sister is a content creator, and so like for most content creators, like you have to be on a routine. I need to do this, and a lot of them batch content in advance so that they can have a schedule and a routine. And I think that's great. I think it's good for them. I think it can be dangerous for creatives, because then we are only creating to give away, and we're creating at such a fast turnaround time that I don't know how dedicated you are to what you just created. I don't know how passionate you are to what you just created, because it loses its integrity when it's not intentional. It loses its integrity when it's not intentional. And that's why the music that I'm working on, I'm not going to just rush through it. What is speaking to me today? If today, I don't know, I feel like inspired, then I'll write. If I don't feel inspired, I'm not going to force it, because and this is me as a creative. The forced work is never as good. It's watered down and it doesn't move people. So take your time and take the pressures off of creating just to create.
Man, you done said such a mouthful. You have said such a mouthful. Create with purpose. This is the things I'm hearing. Create with purpose. Create with intentionality. Because that's where your integrity shows up.
Yeah.
People don't want microwave stuff. People are really going through. People are really suffering with mental health. People are really suffering from suicidal thoughts. People are really suffering from depression, and we don't want to lose the integrity because we weren't intentional,
That's
because
it.
we lack intentionality, because it's not authentic.
Mm-mm.
Man,
Mm-mm.
Rob, I'm telling you now, I cannot wait to come to LA to so we can sit down. Like I'm gonna be, if you would allow me to be selfish, and be like, we gotta go to dinner and just sit and talk for a while. Like not go do fun stuff, like just sit and talk and just have these moments because um this was good. Oh, that was good.
But I
That was
appreciate I appreciate it. I thank you for this opportunity. Thanks for sharing your platform with independent artists like myself.
For sure, man. And so in closing, because we actually have gone over our hour, and I try to really keep this at an hour. And I know Rob literally came from work to do this. Thank you again, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate your willingness, and I appreciate your openness in sharing. So for those who haven't heard already, this is ID Talks, a place where we talk with creatives who are believers about calling, purpose, and destiny and identity. And Rob has two projects out. He has one out called Black Gold, but his most current and most recent project is called Out of Hiding. It is an EP that is amazing, which has this amazing song called Drop It that you got to go hear. And he has music on all streaming platforms. Please tell me your website site again so they can go and check it out.
RobLaRay.com, and you can follow me on all other social media platforms at rob.laray.
Y'all, please follow this guy. He's going places, and I'm not just saying that. Like, his soulful sound is like it's earthy. It's actually like good rock music. It's just you could just turn it on. I'm gonna upload Oceans, the song that he gave for the playlist, so you can go to my Instagram, Cheston D Green. And I'm gonna post them on Facebook too at some point. But you can go to my Instagram, Cheston D Green. Go to the link tree, and you'll see the I'm gonna say DistroKid, not DistroKid, Spotify, and the Apple Music playlist link. So whichever platform you use to listen to music, you can check out those playlists. Now, I will tell you this now. If you're listening to that playlist and you hear something that ain't gospel, it's still a clean version of it. But I allow creatives to share whatever song gets them going and helps them get in the right headspace. And it's really to be inspiring. So
Yeah,
thank you for the comments. Y'all have been amazing tonight. I hope to meet y'all. I hope we follow each other. Y'all follow me or whatever y'all own so we can connect. Let me make sure I'm not missing nothing because Rob, I'm telling you that last statement was something, sir.
hey, I'm talking to myself too.
I'm gonna just say this. I think that if we are honest with ourselves and stop trying to force things, we could have an easier flow.
Yeah.
I stopped. I've recently, my manager, she gets a little, I think she gets frustrated with me sometimes because she'll be like, why ain't you posting? And she used to be. Now she stopped saying stuff because when I post, it'll be like just boom, 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 boom. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like it. Life is life and a lot. And the real me is not going to be showing up. I don't have that creativity. I don't have those catchy phrases or, I don't have these things. I'm in the middle of living right now. And God is, when he's done with this season of me, he's going to allow me to share all the oil that's been pressed out of me. But let me just
That's
keep
good.
living right here so I can get fresh oil.
That's good. And also condolences to you and your family. During your intro, you mentioned that you lost a winner. I just want to acknowledge that. So
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Well, listen, y'all, it has been a pleasure. And next Wednesday, we will be back. It was a tongue twister. If you are watching this on a replay, thank you for watching. There's some other episodes that are on YouTube. All of them are on YouTube. Some of them are on Instagram Live, but most of them are on YouTube. And I have some other episodes that I do need to upload. But thank you for tuning in. Make sure y'all go purchase and then stream our boy Rob LaRay's all of his music. All right. Y'all have a good evening. Peace.
good night. Thank you.